Wa usma wa milele.
Stir
One
that cup
time
the
when
whole
we were
time.
talking, I took it and forgotten it was empty. I had to pretend I sipped it.
It happens.
So bad.
I've swallowed, guys. It's not empty. So my mouth is dry. You know, when you're talking, that can drop. Yeah, no, I have.
There's a guy aliambiwa akienda interview usiwahi wacha kuwe na silence, so he was like, so just make sound, so the whole time, so they asked question, then he was like like legitimately. It is a coastal guy. It's so funny, that dude.
Kwa hivyo ni iko na accent.
Yes.
Nam. Divyo diposa. 3 2 1. This is that Kapatilea news.
Ding, 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 ding.
It's a TikTok video.
Go hard, go home, go hard, go home, go hard, go home.
Welcome back to the Start Here show. A show where we talk about business, we talk about hustle, we talk about life. And today we want to talk about something that I think needs to be spoken about more, because it touches on, of course, it's heavily on business, but it also touches a lot more on our personalities and our personal selves. But before I get there, of course, for everyone joining us, we're with the usual suspect.
Yes.
And one guest. So how are you doing, Chris?
I'm good.
Salimia
Nice to see you. Hi, guys.
Of course, we
Welcome
are
to
with
me.
a guest today, and our guest today is Samo. For those that do not know him, his full name is Samo Obanda, and he's the CEO of one of the, if I may pull that plug right now, one of the challenger and also leading agencies in the city called
Nice.
Alternative.
Fluffing 101.
No, you have to be on Fluffer. So anyway, welcome back. No, you haven't come to the show before, but I
Nope.
think you're always there in the background. It's just
Yeah.
that people do not know.
Yeah,
But yes, today you're here, and we want to have a conversation, that, of course, hopefully will be helpful to everybody who's listening.
Yeah.
And we try and talk about things that we ourselves have gone through, and not in a similar way. Things that we always find ourselves, maybe we have very different perspectives about. And today's show, we want to talk about the idea of partnerships.
Yeah.
And every time everyone is thinking about a business, sometimes you are thinking about it as yourself, but sometimes there are those occasions where you have the so-called business partner, or you are a business partner to someone.
Right.
And I think as we have moved on with life, a lot of us have had maybe good experiences about that. A lot of us have maybe not had very good experiences about that. Maybe some of us are grappling with the idea of it. Do you even find a partner? Is there any such thing as looking? It's not like someone you can recruit. And then I want to talk about this. I think if you're talking about this from a large corporation's perspective, of course it's very different.
Yeah.
You have investors who are there with certain interests that are very different from when you are starting off.
Yeah.
And when you're starting off, obviously, a lot of times you're starting off with nothing. And I think that is the starting point. That's where we want to start this off from.
Yeah.
Chris,
yeah.
of course, you have a very different perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever thought of having a business partner?
Chris is Chuck Norris.
Yeah, she just, ninja, fool.
Well, ninja. I mean, as much as I am a ninja. It's not a joke. For
Where
real.
is modest?
For real. But no, I mean, the whole time I've been running my business, even initially, it's very rare that the thought ever crosses my mind. It's never ever crossed my mind like, oh, you can do this with somebody. Just because for me, you see the way you started with, I know people have so many questions. That's me. I'm the one with all the questions, because I don't understand how you can partner with someone and then now run the business together, especially if you know each other from before. So like, do you date? Is there like a dating?
there a
how
courtship?
is there a courtship where you're like,
Speed-
okay,
speed
let's see
dating.
if we work together or not? Okay, not you. Okay, let me try date this other person. You know, is there like a trisex
Are you trying to
period?
find the best? Yeah.
You know, you're trying to find the best, and then
So,
you try.
so for you, it's never worked.
I've
It's
never
never
tried.
even crossed your mind.
I've never even tried the courtship or
So
anything
you have no partners whatsoever.
at all, and I've never thought of that even being an option.
Okay.
I think for me, what puzzles me is the fact that how did it become an option for you? You know, how did that even cross your mind? Because for me, it has always been, okay, if it's this thing I'm doing, how do I do this together? I mean, how do I do this by myself? I can get other people to assist and to come and play different roles,
Yeah.
but it's always me, like making all decisions, everything. So how did you guys start, and was it something you discussed maybe as friends, where, okay, because I can see how that would grow, maybe if you're friends and you had the same idea and then you came together, or did you become friends after you became partners? Like, how does it, you know?
Like how does that?
And
Yeah.
before answering it, I have a question that based on your dynamic.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like, you know, there's this thing about collaboration and
Right.
the idea that
Yeah.
collaborations makes it easier for thoughts, ideas, and whatnot to be shared. Do you ever fear that is something that you do not have?
The
Or,
collaboration.
like the value that comes with
Yeah,
collaboration.
for sure. Yes. So that's also something that for me, I think, especially, you know, in the past episodes, we've talked about things like the slumps and, you know, sometimes the imposter syndrome. I
Yeah.
feel like that's definitely something that affects me in such that, say, if I have an idea, I want to try something cool with the business, or I'm thinking of taking a different direction, I have no one to bounce off with. You know, I have nobody to be like, what do you think about this? And even when I'm
So how do you soundboard? Are you like, I mean, is your wall in your room just like,
literally, I
Scribbling.
just soundboard with myself.
okay.
I have conversations with myself. I think I even mentioned
Yeah,
that
a
in
few other
some past,
personalities.
where it's like, you know, back and forth. And then even say if I decide to speak to someone close to me, I still really need to explain so much, you know, context just for them to try and kidogo understand.
where you are?
But still, they never ever do.
Yeah, because you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
and-
So and I know I mention it a lot, even when I'm, you know, when I start talking about my business with people I'm close to. It's something I always mention is I feel like I'm always acting out of it's like a common sense ish. It's like a
Intuition,
second
gut.
intuition type. Yeah, I don't have somebody who's there. We see strategy, nini. Everything is in my head. I'll write it down, yes, but it's mine. And you know, I don't have someone else maybe who has more skill or more, you know. So sometimes I feel that could be a disadvantage.
But of course, the fear or the risk of the other things, which
Yeah.
we will talk about, outweighs that fear,
Yes.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Though I
Some-
feel like everything that you're saying makes so much sense. Like the more you're speaking, to be honest, took me back to this line, Steve Jobs, about connecting the dots,
Yeah.
looking backwards. And I think that's the dynamic. The thing about being an entrepreneur is you're like a shark.
Yeah.
You move really fast. You're not, you know, you're not dolphins, you're not whales. You're this shark, and you're really thinking about where you need to get to. And at times when you need to talk to other people, you're not on the same wavelength.
Yeah. And it delays.
And it that delay, and I know that. Like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night. I have multiple groups, you know, for the company, and I'll send messages to, you know, to every group because I have an idea here, idea here. I can't wait for you.
Yeah.
And even before we started out the company, there was this group we were working with, and they called me Phase 9 because we had an idea, but I was in Phase 9, and it was something. it was a really hard thing to sort of like land there. I think the thing about business partnerships, okay, is it's sort of like a relationship.
Okay.
It's like someone says to you, "Do you need to be single?" Is there like something that says you need to be in a relationship, you need to be in a marriage? You've been in a marriage for 30 years. So in each of those scenarios, being in a partnership doesn't necessarily mean that you know, it's the right route to go.
Right.
I think it's a very personal thing.
Okay.
And I think it's about your speed. I think it's about your personality. I think it's about making that connection, and again, connecting the dots,
Yeah.
looking backwards, because you have to, you know where you're going.
Right.
And if you find that connection, great. If you don't, then it wasn't for you. I think
Right.
that's how I look at it.
And you know, the funny thing is, yes, of course, it doesn't have to be. I don't think it's a must. The flip side, and I totally okay, on one end, I align with what you're saying. Like there are risks, and maybe that's the thing we need to talk about, because coming from my side, I have done obviously things in the past.
Jimmy has stories.
And
Where's the whiskey?
and I think even when you look at even recent news,
Yes.
we have been seeing organizations that have existed for I don't know how many years falling apart,
Like the Kenyan government.
because those are on their own lane.
Yeah.
They're even building one in Mombasa. But anyway, it can be tough,
Yeah.
because I've had a bad experience, terrible experience.
With partnership.
Yeah, and I think it boils down to something someone was saying, which is a personality thing also, because I find myself I exude myself a lot.
Okay.
So I will have your interest even before you told me to do it, right?
Yeah.
But if you're with the wrong person, it means that is not
Take advantage.
reciprocated,
Yeah, or they can take
and
advantage
so
of
on
it.
and so forth. And sometimes people would think kwani you are stupid or kwani you are any. But you see, at the end of the day, it all depends on how you're wired. There are people who are natural skeptics. They're like, no, I'm not doing nothing with this person because I have to protect, I have to guard, I have to
Yeah.
I've found that is something I have had to learn. But before,
Learn to be skeptical.
yeah,
Oh.
like I've had to put valves of
Sort of like
to sort of
To
filter.
regulate so you're not giving everything.
Because naturally, I would I'm just going to.
Go ahead.
Your problem will be mine,
Wow.
but my problem is, will my problem be yours?
Oh,
That's
right.
usually.
So you're
the-
like an empath, and then
yes.
the other people you don't get nothing back, basically.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that is in every situation, but that is naturally how I've had to
Yeah,
learn how
yeah.
to create guards. But before, and that's perhaps brings us back to how the hell did people even form? Like, are you
Where do you
friends?
start?
yeah.
Well, I don't know. I
Yeah.
think for me, it's been, and even in the partnerships that we have had,
Yeah.
is to be, and this is like non-scripted. It started off as, of course, there's commonality in interest. Commonality in interest at that moment. Yes, you want to make money, but you're not going to make money tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not even the following day.
That's
Like
true.
it takes some
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So there has to be that ability for people to stick to a certain path, knowing that there's an end goal.
Yeah.
I think that thing that you're saying is so true,
That
because
drives
it's really about having that connected sort of like passion and vision.
Right.
Because when we started out Alternative and we were with Akil, we did poetry together. We were organizing events.
Yeah.
That's where we started. We lived in the same house.
Yeah.
You know, we had clients, and they didn't know where we were working out from. People didn't know all of those stories, but between us, the conversations we had were all about where we wanted to be. We were so wrapped up in opportunity.
Right.
We'd look at brands, we'd look at a brand like Urban Bites, and be
Yeah.
like, the opportunity with this brand is so big. We could do this, we could do that, we could do this, and that became that kind of golden thread
Yeah.
that interconnected with us.
Yeah. The
And-
similarity.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and in all honesty, at that beginning phase, we were not just two people. There were all of these other individuals who were all our
Around.
friends,
With the
who
same-
were our partners, because we were all intertwined with the same sort of like vision. And it's that what's it called? I want to say Peter Pan is the wrong one. The one where he plays the flute and the kids follow.
You watch
yeah,
too many cartoons.
I watched too many cartoons,
Yeah,
but
that's what you're
that
saying,
yes,
yeah. The
but
Pied
that-
Piper.
the Pied Piper,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's what was happening before it was R. Kelly. So that
It's not
Yeah.
so there, man.
that's legitimately what was happening. But
Yeah.
I feel like maybe the thing to take out from it is, as long as you have a vision and this other person sees that vision, there's the risk legitimately in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is risk. So as long as the vision is there, as long as there's this larger mission in life and what you want
Yeah.
to do, then out of that you build this house that all these people come into. That's how that partnership happens. If you don't share your vision with the world, if you don't share it with your friend, whatever it is, it's impossible for them to find context in what you're
Right.
doing.
Right.
And it's finding your roles. You might move faster, that other person grounds you. And I think I've seen that personally, because
Okay.
I move really quickly and I need time. You give me space, I think, whatever I consider. But then when I need a emotional compass, there are multiple people that Akil's an empath, like completely. Like I'll talk to that. I'll talk to Jimmy about, things that are, brand and big vision and what we could do and things like that. And I'll talk to my wife especially because she will take out all the noise.
So cute.
Wow.
Sweet.
Yes. Moving on. But yeah, she'll remove all of this noise and allow us to sort of like focus on what's the thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty in partnership, in having people who sort of like ground you. That's my perspective.
Yeah.
But it's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, because I think you, on the other hand,
Yeah.
you have. I feel like you. I think you move with some level of speed
Yes.
that would not exist in an environment where there needs to be a lot of minds together.
I think
Because your space between I want and I'm doing is probably.
It's very short. It's true. I think my biggest thing actually when you speak about the partnerships and all that, and I'm even now thinking, okay, so out of the people I know, and I've met in my life that maybe are memorable or I feel could form some form of partnership with me, I still feel there'd be a problem because I would really want this person to be like me.
Okay.
I want us to have like the same.
On a personal
goals
level,
and
do you
the
have the
same-
same?
Yeah, I was going to ask like a specific question. Who celebrates your wins? Who's your biggest
Cheerleader.
Yeah.
Myself.
You are the alter ego. First, I want to thank myself for the fact.
I feel like you walk around with your shadow. It's like
Oh yeah. Us guys
Yeah.
are BFFs,
Okay.
like best of friends.
You're the people
No,
who
but-
like your own Instagram post.
Yeah, basically. No, but I think for me it's maybe it's a personality thing. I think mine is definitely a personality thing, but because if you even think of my wins, I will rarely share them unless somebody really asks.
okay.
So even if it's a big win, I'm just like, good job, girl. It's such a personal thing. So until somebody really like pros like, hey, so what was that? So, and then I'll be like, it's nothing big, and then maybe we'll do some form of celebration. But back to the partnership thing, I think for me, I'd really want someone who's like, okay, I wouldn't want to say the same because that doesn't make sense, but somebody who has the same drive and sort of the same, who if I explain the vision, they'll have the same one. And to date, I really don't think I've met
You
somebody
haven't
like
found that
that.
person.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
cool.
And that for me personally, if I did find them, I would not mind having a partnership. So what I would hate to do is sort of that push myself in this direction of a partnership and then put my expectations on this person and then instantly get very disappointed when they don't achieve.
Then you don't know how to deal with them.
Now
after.
I don't know how to do it, especially if it's a friend.
I think there's a question about what different partnerships look like.
Yeah.
And dynamics, because if I go back like historically, there are really different scenarios. I don't think partnerships at times could be like 50-50. I don't think it is at that degree.
Okay.
I think that different people at different points who play very different roles.
Yeah.
Every time people talk about Bill Gates, very few people talk about Paul Allen. Every time people talk about Steve Jobs, people don't
There's
talk
always
about
one person who's in the
Yes.
shadows.
Yeah, people
The
don't talk about
foreground,
Wozniak.
backgroundish, yeah.
Lately, when people talk about Zuckerberg, people don't talk about Sheryl Sandberg in the same way. He's the creative developer type guy, right?
Yeah.
And he builds this thing, and if you leave him to his own devices, he's an evil individual.
Yeah.
Like, I can say that, right?
Evil genius.
Yeah, and then on this other
Dexter.
side, Sheryl Sandberg is the organized person. She's the person behind Lean In. She's driving this whole vehicle in a very different way. And I think when you think about partnerships, you look at it that way. Another good example of that is everybody talks about Google. Everybody knows like Larry Page and Sergey and that whole dynamic. But people don't know about Eric Schmidt, and he's the guy with the glasses. He's not the cool kid, whatever it is, but he came in to sort of like ground them. It's literally like he came in to be the grown-up in the relationship.
Yeah.
And I think those
it
dynamics are so important. I think in where you sit in regards to partnership, I don't think it's necessarily on a 50-50 level.
Okay.
One thing I've noticed is that you can't outsource the entrepreneur. There's one entrepreneur. That person thinks and he's 10 steps ahead of everybody else.
Right.
But around that person are all these other individuals who
Bring in
yes,
different.
who
yeah.
ground in such like
It's-
my sister,
it's
for
like a
instance,
jigsaw.
is very different. Like we'll soundboard, but in a way that she might not think it's that
Yeah.
dynamic, but it's really an important part of what we do. And I have so many pockets of those types of people. So they all sit in different pockets, and I engage with them in terms of different things.
Yeah.
But every time I expect them to be the entrepreneur as me, we fail.
It fails.
Yeah, and my dynamic with Akil is Akil will say like things need to run through you.
Yeah.
And with time, he's actually helped me a lot to realize, okay, so this is something that I actually do and I'm really good at it. And I think in the conversation of partnership is a conversation of relationship. It's a conversation of finding yourself, finding your voice. It's becoming okay with who you are.
Yeah.
And in becoming okay with who you are, you become okay with everybody else and
Right,
figuring out
true.
where they play.
So I think going back to then that point, you're trying to make someone you,
Basically, yeah. I'm trying to morph myself.
and maybe that's
Like,
why.
You're trying to
clone myself.
clone
Yeah, I'm
yourself.
trying to clone
'Cause
myself.
Ideally, it's like there are edges that are smoother, there's edges that are sharper
Yeah.
on your front.
Yeah.
Whether it's, and we're not here talking about character. We're not talking about. We're talking about ability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Skill. Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the other flip side, because
Yeah.
you need, if you would ever get into it, maybe there's a future in which Icon needs to go into different levels, and I know those are partnerships that maybe will exist in a future.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
what you'd need is that other flip side.
Yeah, I
not
think-
you.
Exactly.
You don't need
but-
another you.
And I don't even mean me in the sense of like they need to know what I know.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's like whatever their role is, they need to be so like on it.
Like on it.
You
in
know,
that sort of
where
way.
you don't need, not like, oh, today I'm not feeling it.
Yeah,
It's
sort of
no,
mood.
there's
Yeah.
this target, there's a goal.
That way
go.
we're going.
Like,
Yeah.
there's not like off days or like, I didn't, maybe this one, just leave it like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like,
It's good what you're saying, because it's something people don't talk about entrepreneurs
Yeah.
a lot about. You are the person who's building the company, and in many ways it's the functional part.
Yeah.
But then there's this other side where the thing that rests on your shoulders is the vision side.
Yeah.
It's the emotional belief. You're building this thing, and everybody needs to believe.
yeah.
To see it and
See it
and
as clear
yes,
as
like
you
as clear
are,
as it
yeah.
is. And when that doesn't happen, most people don't know where to fit in.
Yeah.
And I came to realize like the component of leadership in whatever it is. Partnerships about leadership. It's about different people playing very different roles
Yeah.
and things like that. But really being very clear about like the vision, being able to bring that out in such a strong way that everybody knows where they fit in.
Yeah.
And normally it's when the vision's so close to that,
Yeah.
founder's
Yeah.
dilemma,
Yeah.
that everybody doesn't know
How
where they-
to- yeah,
how to
it's
fit
And in
True.
fact, when it's too close, it's yours.
It's mine.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not bird's eye view.
Yeah.
It's my.
Yeah.
It's
And
my
if
view
someone
of
comes
things.
in and
Yeah, and you're changing it. And it's and that's where personality comes in, because there's that thing where sharing is also a problem to some people. And when I say sharing, I mean like even
feel
there are people who
exposed. I feel very exposed right
Have
now.
no, do not feel attacked. Are you like, there's sometimes like, especially in an ideas environment
Yeah.
where it's people like exchanging thoughts and like that. There are people who own their
Oh,
idea.
yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like, and if you try and tweak it or redirect it,
They're like, no, it's
you-
wrong.
to them you've shut on the idea. It's not like you've redirected or you added
No.
perspective.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
because a lot of times that's what I have found in the
So
benefit
for you.
in the benefit of finding the right partnership. There are certain things in the way that I will think.
Right.
There are certain ways in which some of you will think.
Yeah.
There are
it's true.
certain ways in which someone else will think.
Yeah.
And then in so doing, we have a very all-rounded
Right.
global view of things. And it
Yeah.
may sound subtle or trivial, but it wins business at the end of the
It's
day.
true.
Because just that one view of doing things sometimes is
It's
off.
very one way.
It is.
And maybe to just, there's that question you've asked of how the hell do you even start. So me, I'll tell you. And I'm not saying that this is the path for everyone,
Okay.
but okay, I have had a partnership that started off as friendship,
Okay.
but the character failed in between.
Okay. Who's
Yeah.
yours
Who
or
knows?
the other
I don't want to project and say it's just me who was a holy person, but who knows?
Yeah.
Like the character somewhere failed in
Mhm,
between.
mhm.
When that happens, it doesn't matter how strong the idea was.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It's
matter how
gone.
amazing anything was. It just goes to the
The
toilet.
dynamic shifts.
Yeah, it just because you cannot
There's
do
no way,
anything
yeah.
together. By the time we were doing anything, as in that resembled any form of partnership with Samuel, I think we had working experiences
Yeah.
probably for 2 years before.
Yeah, we did.
With other
Uh,
partnerships.
No,
Oh.
like
Oh, just-
together,
Oh,
without
right,
ever
right,
agreeing
okay.
that this is what we are gonna do.
Okay, right.
Like it was, you do your thing, you do your thing.
Me,
Then,
I usually say it's like when you throw gully against the wall, trying to find
Wow.
it to
If
stick
it
on the
sticks,
wall.
yeah.
It's like that, by the way. It's true. It could fail, or it could work.
yeah.
And
So maybe the 2 years you had experience, that was like your
So
coachship.
there was
I
a
know-
lot of
I
things that
I
happened.
knew
in
you were
between.
going to try and go in that direction.
No, seriously,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to just figure out.
Right?
How
If it
do
doesn't, that's why I
you-
said if it doesn't start off as friendship,
Mm-hmm.
if it's starting from somewhere else, I feel there needs, and we have found the benefit of it is you have to start in parallels,
Yeah.
and those parallels either align the vision, because 2 years is not a short time,
Yeah. It's
and then now other years are added on top.
Yeah.
By the time we were going into pitches, the first days
it's
was
true.
probably, I don't even know what year.
It's true.
And I used to come as my unit,
Yeah.
and they as units,
Yeah, people.
and then now
Yeah.
eventually we're like, can we just find a way of doing this
Together.
in a, so that way it was collaborative. It was
Okay.
more collaborative than it was, the collaboration was forced
Designed.
by the objective.
Yeah. Nobody came and said, we now
Start
knight
here.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, and then a lot of times we're even getting into this space where we are asking for, say, investors, money, and all of these things. A lot of times it's not money that's the issue. You get the money and then something else will fail.
Yeah.
And we've seen it, as we said, you'll see in the in the dailies and whatnot, heavily funded businesses, heavily successful businesses just going into the trash because
Yeah.
dynamics.
Yeah, I think that's why, like, to me, this show is a partnership, right? It's you two. To be honest, like, I don't know what you have in common, legitimately.
Maybe
Like,
that's why it
It's
you
doesn't.
true.
see,
Maybe
like
that's
you-
how it works.
You see, because you come from, like, I would like to believe different dynamics,
Yeah.
different businesses,
Yeah.
different backgrounds,
Completely.
Yeah.
all of those types of things. But then there's something that's interconnecting, right?
Yeah.
That becomes that thread that you hold on to, and here we are, episode number.
Yeah.
And I think, and I can see more episodes down the line.
Yeah.
I think there's that dynamic is because of what you guys, you're all linked to one
Yeah.
single thought,
Definitely.
or one single vision. And I think that thing is a big thing. I think in any business opportunity, idea, concept, whatever it is that you're building, being able to build your company on a foundation of vision, I think that's the first partnership that you have.
Before even talking about legal stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I don't think pieces of paper can come in between character or
True.
anything like that. Cool. So any parting shot?
Oh, it's at that point. Yeah. Chris, what's your parting shot?
I think for me, to be honest, I hear everything you're saying. I'm trying to figure out
You still want another Chris?
how. Another Chris,
To be,
but
just so you know,
different.
I have a bot, by the way, in the office. So like
You
an
do?
actual person. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who replicates him?
Who replicates me completely.
can I borrow?
And has an uncanny, likeness to
Yeah.
who I am.
Alexa-ish.
yeah,
Yeah.
you need to show
I
me
need to
how
even
to.
change my
I'm Michael
haircut
B.
now.
Jordan.
Yeah, you need to show me how to do that because I think that's what I need. No, but it's cool. I like the insights. For me, I think it's more of I don't know, because I'm really trying to figure out. Okay, maybe it's the business. I mean, maybe it's how I operate. Because
Yeah.
even if I think of it like that, with the industry, I mean, I feel like it's still kind of new. It's still very young in a sense. So maybe it would be difficult to get sort of like-minded people, and it still always has, like, the fashion industry always has this image of like, oh, laissez-faire, it's so fun, oh my gosh, but
Nobody knows the messy kitchen.
no one
type
knows,
style.
no one knows what goes behind. It's like, oh my god, yeah, you do that, oh my god, that must be so much fun. It's like, yeah, oh, clearly you think it's so much fun, but it's a lot of work, you know. So already, even with that image that's been portrayed, it's really difficult to find somebody like you who really just, you know, would take that industry but then be very, very serious about it.
I feel like there's a part of yours that's partnership that is on the delivery end. It's not so much on the vision end.
Definitely, yeah.
It's on the delivery, and that one is very transactional.
Yes.
It's I am partnering with you for this and this and
For
this and
this service and for
And,
the
yeah.
things that maybe I wouldn't be able to
yeah,
achieve.
but beyond the transactional part, I would say that has to be organic. Like if you
Definitely.
try and manufacture it, it's
fail,
Simple
big
as
fail.
just going to fail. Not a-
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but it's so interesting just
Yeah.
even to hear you guys and how you do it together. I was telling Jimmy even before you came, I'm always in awe when I see him
is
and
the part where we
Akil
say
and when they
the
talk
whole
about
thing
you.
again.
Oh,
Oh, so in awe. But I'm always just in awe. I was like, wow, like you guys are friends
Yeah.
and you're still able to work and do something so big together.
there's
And I
even
was
a
like,
question
do
here.
do
That's
that?
how do you deal when someone fucks
Yes,
up?
yeah. How do you deal when someone messes up and that's your
Yo.
friend?
Yeah, it's really hard,
You
by
know?
the way, and it takes time.
Yeah.
And there's this sort of like separation between I as a person and us as a company and what we're looking to do.
Is that something that you had from the very beginning,
I
or is
think-
it something that you had to sort of grow?
I think it goes back to also the dynamic between us, the friendship, and I mean, to be
Right.
honest, for me and Akil's is like a small bro.
Yeah.
I have so many small bros, but he's like the oldest of the small
Is
bros.
the
but-
older small one?
Yes, yeah, and I mean it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to have those conversations, but I think in those hard conversations, those hard times, again, you're sort of like building something really
Right.
great out of it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's completely like bad. I think it's positive, and as long as egos stay out of it.
I was gonna say that because I feel
yeah.
like it's a huge part of like self-awareness. Like you
Yeah.
listen, if I screw up and I come and tell you I've screwed up,
Mm-hmm.
it's different from acting like I haven't.
Yeah.
and
true.
and the ability to do that has some form of respect. I've always been a fan of, listen, I did this, it didn't go the way it was supposed to be, let's move. Instead of trying to act like it doesn't
Like,
exist,
yeah.
you know, like simple things like
Yeah.
those. But there's no manual. I don't think there is a manual for it. Like
Maybe it's one of those things like if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Like if you know it's gonna work, like you can just tell when you sort of get to start knowing somebody, and when you start working together and forming the partnership, you can just know, okay, fine, this is gonna work out,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
If it's not, if it doesn't work
Also,
out,
if it doesn't,
you
you'll
will know.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and
for
it
me-
and if you don't acknowledge it early enough, from my learning,
Yeah.
it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just like openness. A company is literally a building that you know built with pillars of relationships and things like that, and time and stuff like that. And I
Yeah.
think at some point you have to be open. You have to be open to finding people who don't fit in with you. You have to be open. We used to hire people, and we never had a model of hiring. And the thing we would take was the energy. We used to say like we want to see like the energy
Vibe.
of the person, the
Oh,
vibe.
that's me.
And to be honest, if you come to Alternative, you'll
That's
find
me.
people who have a degree in agriculture and a degree in petroleum engineering
Yeah.
and a degree in and guys without a degree. So we used to use that, but then over time we realized we needed to become different from. We needed to sort of like segment ourselves, and the company becomes a company, and it becomes a rule. It's
Yeah.
a bunch of rules, and
Yeah.
this is how we work. This is our dynamic. This is us. And I
Yeah.
think if it fails, it'll fail.
Yeah.
It's cool, but like for me personally, I really believe in connecting the dots.
Okay.
That is our story started on connecting the dots,
Yeah.
and it was years back, 2011, 11/11. It was that time when 111 was a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's this guy called Neil Shah, and he was like, listen, connect the dots. And then years later, that whole narrative of connecting the dots, looking backwards, looking, not necessarily trying to figure out so hard where you're going. Like you have your vision, it gives you a direction. But then being open enough to allow people to come on that journey with you,
Right.
to have such a clear vision. And then now when you look backwards, you're like, oh, okay, so all of this came together.
It made sense. Yeah. And it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you write your own book.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. So, I mean, I think for me, I'm still so fascinated by how you guys are able to, form this beautiful partnership. So you're able to be so professional and yet still stay friends. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks this way. I don't know how you guys out there feel about partnerships. You've heard from me. I mean, I'm not the partnering type, but
In business.
Yeah, in business. if my Taita man is out there, please don't hesitate. Time is ticking.
Hey, a Taita
No.
man, it's a thing. eh?
They cook well.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They cook well. Anyway, yeah, so thank you guys for watching the video and for joining us talking about business partnerships. And if you're out there and you feel, maybe you agree with what Jimmy and what Sam was saying with partnering together, feel free to drop us a comment in the comment section below. If you're more like me, who's just a solo, just fox by themselves, you can also leave us a comment. Let's continue the conversation. We'd love to know who you are in terms of the business partnerships, and we hope to see you next time.
Super.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Go hard, or go home. Go hard, or go home. Go hard,